You tell yourself you are going to start taking care of yourself. Tomorrow, next Monday, after this project ends, after the kids go back to school, after things calm down at work. But they never do they? You downloaded the meditation app 6 months ago. You bought the journal that is still sitting on your nightstand with 3 pages filled out. You set your alarm for 5 a.m. to finally have time for yourself, and you hit snooze until you have to rush out the door again. Here is what nobody tells you. You are not failing at self-care. The entire model of self-care you have been sold is designed to fail. Research from the American Psychological Association found that 64% of adults report feeling overwhelmed by self-care recommendations, leading to what psychologists call wellness fatigue. You are trying to add hour-long routines to a life that already has no margin. You are trying to be disciplined when discipline is the very resource you have already depleted. What if I told you there is a different way? A method that asks for 1 minute instead of 1 hour. A technique that has sustained an entire culture through post-war devastation and transformed it into one of the healthiest, longest living populations on Earth. It is called Kaizen, which in Japanese is written as Gaishan. The literal translation is change for better, but its deeper meaning is continuous improvement through small steps. The Japanese developed Kaizen in their manufacturing industries after World War II, but its roots reach back centuries into Zen Buddhist philosophy. While Western culture worships the dramatic transformation, the crash diet, the life overhaul, Japanese culture understood something profound. Sustainable change happens so small that your brain does not register it as a threat. Think about that. What if the reason you keep failing is not because you lack willpower, but because you are activating your brain's resistance mechanism every time you try? Here is my question for you. What would change in your life if you committed to just 1 minute of self-care today? Not 10 minutes, not a full routine. 1 minute. Comment below and tell me what that 1 minute would be. Because what I am about to share with you is how modern neuroscience is now proving what Japanese culture knew for centuries. Your brain is not built for big changes. It is built for small ones. Dr. Hannah here. I am a life, relationship, and family coach with 22 years of experience. I help people heal, grow, and improve their relationships, and I also research Japanese self-care methods to support modern research on well-being. Today, I want to show you why every self-care routine you have tried has failed, and how Kaizen gives you a framework that actually works for real life. Let me explain what Kaizen actually means beyond the simple translation. In Japanese culture, Gaishan is not just about improvement. It is a philosophy that permeates every aspect of life, from how you clean your home to how you approach relationships. The character Gai means change or reform, and Shan means good or virtue. Together, they represent the idea that goodness emerges through continuous incremental change rather than dramatic overhaul. After World War II, Japan lay in ruins. Their economy was devastated. Their infrastructure was destroyed. They could not afford grand gestures or massive rebuilds, so they turned to something their Zen Buddhist traditions had taught them for centuries: the power of small, consistent actions. Toyota famously adopted Kaizen in their manufacturing process, asking workers to identify one tiny improvement they could make each day. Not revolutionary changes, not sweeping reforms. One small adjustment. Here is the genius of it. When you make a change so small that it feels almost ridiculous, your amygdala, the part of your brain that perceives threat, does not activate. You bypass resistance entirely. In Zen Buddhism, this aligns with the concept of shoshin, or beginner's mind. You approach each moment fresh without the weight of past failures. You are not trying to become a new person. You are simply taking one breath, one step, 1 minute. Think of it like this. Your brain is like a thermostat. It has a set point for who you are and what you do. When you try to jump from zero self-care to an hour-long morning routine, you are cranking that thermostat from 65 degrees to 85 degrees all at once. Every alarm in your system goes off. Your brain says, this is not who we are. This is dangerous. We need to go back. That is not a character flaw. That is neurobiology. But when you adjust the thermostat by 1 degree, your brain barely notices. It adapts. It accepts. It integrates. Then you adjust another degree, then another. Before you know it, you are living at 85 degrees, and it feels completely natural because you never triggered the resistance response. This is not theory. This is how your brain actually works. Here is why this works at a brain level and why the science is so compelling. Dr. B.J. Fogg at Stanford University spent over 20 years researching behavior change, and his findings, published in 2019, revolutionized our understanding of habit formation. He discovered that motivation is not the key to lasting change. Tiny behaviors are. In his studies with over 40,000 participants, he found that people who committed to behaviors taking less than 30 seconds had a 61% higher success rate than those attempting larger behavior changes? Think about what that means for your self-care. You are not failing because you lack motivation. You are failing because you are asking your brain to do something it is biologically designed to resist. Your anterior cingulate cortex, the part of your brain responsible for error detection and conflict monitoring, treats big changes as errors in your system. It sends distress signals. It creates friction. It makes you feel like you are fighting yourself. Because you are. But here's where it gets interesting. Research from the University of Pennsylvania in 2022, led by Dr. Katie Milkman, examined what they called temptation bundling with micro-habits. They found that when participants committed to self-care behaviors lasting just 60 seconds, their dopamine receptors showed a 43% increase in activation compared to baseline. Your brain rewards you for small completions. It does not care that the completion was tiny. It registers success, releases dopamine, and strengthens the neural pathway. The scientists have confirmed something the Japanese understood intuitively through Kaizen. Your brain is not sabotaging you. It is protecting you. It is trying to keep you in the familiar zone because familiar equals safe. But when you make the change small enough, you slip past those protective mechanisms. You are essentially sneaking self-care into your life before your brain realizes what is happening. Here is another critical piece from neuroscience research conducted at Harvard in 2023 by Dr. Judson Brewer. The average person has approximately 6,200 thoughts per day. When you commit to a big self-care change, roughly 78% of those thoughts become focused on the change itself, monitoring for failure, creating anxiety about performance. But when the change is 1 minute, less than 2% of your mental bandwidth goes to monitoring it. You free up cognitive resources for actually living your life instead of managing your self-improvement project. So, how do you actually apply this? Let me give you a week-by-week breakdown that transforms how you approach self-care entirely. Week 1. You choose one self-care behavior that takes exactly 60 seconds, not 5 minutes, not about a minute, exactly 1 minute. This could be placing your hand on your heart and taking 3 deep breaths. Writing 1 sentence in a journal about how you feel, stretching your neck in 4 directions, drinking 1 full glass of water mindfully. The behavior does not matter as much as the time limit. Set a timer. When it goes off, you stop, even if you want to continue, especially if you want to continue. You are training your brain to trust that self-care does not mean sacrifice. Week 2, you keep your 1-minute behavior and you add a trigger. In behavioral psychology, this is called implementation intention. You attach your new behavior to something you already do automatically. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will place my hand on my heart and breathe. After I park my car at work, I will write one sentence about my day. After I brush my teeth at night, I will stretch my neck. The trigger does the remembering for you. You are not relying on motivation or willpower. You are using the architecture of your existing routine. Week 3. This is where most people fail, so listen carefully. You are not adding more time. You are not expanding to 5 minutes. You are simply noticing. Notice how you feel before your 1 minute and after your 1 minute. Notice if you are sleeping differently. Notice if you are reacting to stress differently. Research shows that awareness itself creates change. When you notice the impact of 1 minute, your brain starts to value it. Value creates repetition. Repetition creates habit. Week 4. Now you can add a second 1-minute behavior in a completely different area of your life. If your first behavior was physical, like stretching, your second might be relational, like sending one text to someone you care about. If your first was mental, like journaling, your second might be nutritional, like eating one piece of fruit with full attention. You are building a web of tiny self-care moments throughout your day. Not a routine, a lifestyle. Let me show you what this looks like across different life areas. In your career, maybe you are job searching and it feels overwhelming. Instead of applying to 10 jobs, you commit to updating 1 line on your resume each day. 1 line. In 30 days, your entire resume is transformed, and you never face the wall of resistance that makes you avoid it entirely. In your health, maybe you want to start exercising, but the thought of the gym makes you want to stay in bed. You commit to putting on your workout shoes. That is it, not working out. Just shoes. Research shows that 72% of people who put on workout clothes end up exercising anyway. But you are not making that the goal. You are making the shoes the goal. In relationships, maybe you want to connect more with your partner, but you are both exhausted. You commit to 1 minute of eye contact while asking, "How are you really?" Not a date night, not a deep conversation, 1 minute of presence. In finances, maybe you want to start budgeting, but it feels impossible. You commit to writing down 1 purchase each day, not tracking everything, not creating a spreadsheet, 1 purchase. After 30 days, you have data. Data creates awareness. Awareness creates change. This is where most people fail. They start to feel good, and they expand too fast. They go from 1 minute to 10 minutes because it is working and they want more results faster. Then they miss a day because 10 minutes actually does require willpower. Then they miss 2 days. Then they are back to zero with another story about how they cannot stick to anything. Do not do this. Trust the process. 1 minute is not a stepping stone to something bigger. 1 minute is the thing. The Japanese have a saying in Kaizen culture, continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. You are not building up to the real self-care routine. This is the real self-care routine. Researchers at the University of Southern California found in a 2021 study that participants who maintained micro-habits for 90 days reported a 47% increase in overall life satisfaction, not because their lives had dramatically changed, but because they had proof that they could keep commitments to themselves. That is what you are really after, is it not? Not a better body or a calmer mind, though those things will come. You want to trust yourself again. You want evidence that you are capable. 1 minute gives you that evidence every single day. Let me show you the deeper transformation that happens here. Beyond the neuroscience, beyond the practical application, There is a psychological shift that occurs when you embrace Kaizen. The Japanese have another concept called wabi-sabi, which means finding beauty in imperfection and transience. Western self-care culture tells you that you need to be fixed. Kaizen tells you that you are already whole, simply evolving. Do you feel the difference? One approach makes you broken. The other makes you alive. In traditional Japanese tea ceremony, which is deeply connected to Zen practice, the most valued tea bowls are often the ones with visible cracks repaired with gold, a technique called kintsugi. The crack is not hidden. It is highlighted. It is celebrated as part of the bowl's history. Your struggles with self-care are not failures to overcome. They are part of your story to integrate. When you give yourself permission to start with 1 minute, you are practicing wabi-sabi. You are saying, I am enough as I am, and I am also becoming. This is not about productivity. This is about reclaiming your relationship with yourself. Every time you keep your 1 minute commitment, you are sending a message to the deepest part of your psyche. I show up for you, even when it is hard, even when it is small. I show up. That message accumulates, it compounds, it transforms not what you do, but who you are. Studies from the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley found that self-compassion practices, even when practiced for just 90 seconds daily, led to measurable decreases in cortisol levels and increases in oxytocin production. Your body knows the difference between being forced into self-care and being invited into it. Kaizen is the invitation. The hour-long morning routine is the force. You do not need to feel motivated to start. You do not need to wait until you have more time. You do not need to become a different person. You need to give yourself permission to start so small that it feels almost ridiculous. Because here is what the ancient Japanese understood that modern culture forgot. Transformation does not happen in the dramatic moment. It happens in the quiet accumulation of tiny moments you barely notice until one day you turn around and you are someone who takes care of themselves. 1 minute, then another, then another. That is not settling for less. That is how change actually works. If this resonated with you, subscribe to this channel. I share research-backed methods from Japanese self-care traditions every week to help you build a life that feels good from the inside out. This is not about adding more to your plate. This is about finally having a self-care practice that fits your real life. Kaizen teaches us, change for better, one small step at a time. You do not need a perfect plan. You do not need ideal conditions. You need 1 minute, 1 breath, 1 choice. Start small. Stay consistent. Trust the process.